A long time ago, on Mother Earth, the land was one big, huge, and gigantic continent. And everybody that lived on this continent got along with each other. And everything that lived in the water got along with each other. So there was harmony all over the world. The humans got along with the plants and animals. Nature was in balance. So there was a lot of peace and contentment and happiness all over the place. Then after a short time, the humans began to get a little bit too prideful. They started to think a little bit selfishly, and they started to create things that would make their life easier. That's what they thought to themselves. And soon they created more things, and they were inventing more and more things, and their technology began to develop. Our stories say that the technology was so advanced that the people could travel underground, under the water, through the air, at really fast speeds and at great distances. And the technology our ancestors had was far greater than what we have today. Now, a lot of this technology that they developed was achieved by violating the balance of nature. They were polluting the waters, they were polluting the air, and this was affecting the plants and the animals. And so that peace among all creation began to disappear. Then groups of people started to think they were smarter than each other. They separated into their own groups, and each group thought it was smarter and more advanced than the others. And they would try to prove it by developing, more and more technology. Well, there was a group of humans that was spiritual, and they were going around to the people trying to warn them that if they kept doing what they're doing, that the earth will cleanse herself and everything on the earth will be destroyed and life will start over again. But the prideful people, they didn't want to listen. But the spiritual people kept warning the prideful people of what's going to happen. But the prideful people would not listen. Then one day, Mother Earth began calling to her children to come to her, to come into her. And so the spiritual people, who are our ancestors, went under the earth. And they stayed under there for a long time. And while they were under the earth began to cleanse herself. There were earthquakes and tornadoes and hurricanes and fires and floods. Every weather disaster you can think of, that's what was going on top of the earth. And so the prideful people were destroyed, and their technology was destroyed too. They were swallowed up inside the earth, and as their technology was swallowed up, it was destroyed. So you can't find any trace of it today. And after a time, Mother Earth told the people inside of her that they could come out now. So they did. And when they came out onto the earth, they saw that everything was changed. Everything looked different. It was a brand new world. There used to be some mountain ranges that would run from east to west, and now they ran from north to south. And so the people were in amazement and in wonderment, and they gave thanks to the Creator and to the Mother Earth for helping them to survive. And the people came out from the earth at a place that's called today Wind Cave in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Then the animals began to notice something. they began to notice that some of their relatives were missing, and they knew their relatives were not bad people, and they couldn't have been destroyed. Well, it was the birds, the winged nations, the ones who could fly at great distances, told all the other animals that the great, big, giant continent no longer existed, and that it must have broken up into smaller pieces because as they were flying over the earth, they could see like other big continents all over the earth. And as they flew close to these continents, they could see that there were animals that were living there, and some of them were their relatives. And so this is what the birds told the other animals. And so this is why, for example, in Africa, there are these birds called ostriches. And in Australia, there's a bird that is almost identical to that. They're relatives, and they were separated. And now they're living on different continents. And soon a lot of the animal nations began to notice that their tioshpayas were broken up. They were separated all over the earth. And so this made the animals sad and angry. I mean, they were happy that they survived, but they were sad because they couldn't see them anymore, some of them. And they were angry because it was not their fault that this happened. It was the humans' fault. And so the four-leggeds had a meeting with the animals that move and grow. And in this meeting, they decided that they were going to destroy all the humans from off the face of the earth, because it was the humans who upset the balance of nature. It was the humans who violated nature. And so all this separation was caused by the humans, and they wanted to destroy the humans so it would not happen again. Now at this meeting, there was a little magpie that was listening. The other animals didn't know he was there. And he listened to the whole meeting, and then he flew back to the other winged nations, the other birds. And he told the birds about that meeting and what was said. And the birds began to agree too. They wanted to destroy the humans as well. And they were really getting angry, and they were saying things like, yeah, that's right, my relatives are over in another continent, and I can't fly that far, so I'll never see them again. And they were really upset. And they were getting drunk on rage and anger. Then a voice spoke, a soft voice. And it wasn't loud, it was not angry, it was not necessarily a happy voice, but it was a voice that when you heard it, you just quiet it down. And this voice came from an old owl. And the owl said that the humans are part of the two-legged Wamakashka. And so if they destroy the humans, they have to destroy all of the two-legged Wamakashka. But the thing was that the bears were also members of the two-legged Wamakashka. And he said that the bears represent wisdom on this earth. So if the animals destroy all the two-leggeds, there will be no wisdom on this earth. And there cannot be happiness without wisdom. And so the birds were going to each other, oh yeah, isn't it? Saying things like that. And so they agreed, and they realized that, yeah, the two-leggeds cannot be destroyed. Because if the two-leggeds are destroyed, then what's the purpose of life? All the Wamakashka on the earth is important. All creation on the earth is important. And everybody has a right to live on this earth. And so if one of the Wamakashka is no longer on the earth, it's going to affect the rest of the Wamakashka as well. And so the winged nations, the birds, decided to meet with the four-leggeds and things that move and grow. And they did. And they held a really big meeting, and there was a big debate because the four-leggeds were so drunk on wanting to destroy the two-leggeds. And so the owl presented their case before all the animals, but it did not change the mind of the four-leggeds. And so the owl said, well, maybe we should have a contest. If the four-leggeds win the contest, then the birds will stand by and let the four-leggeds destroy the two-leggeds off the face of the earth. And if the wingeds, the birds, if the birds win, then the two-leggeds must be allowed to continue to live on this earth. And so all the animals agreed to this contest. And it was decided that the contest would be a race around the Black Hills. And the race would start on the east side of the Black Hills, and it would go around the Black Hills clockwise 4 times. And so all the animals agreed to it. Then on the day that the contest was to start, all these really powerful animals were lining up at the starting line. There were buffaloes and mountain lions and deer and antelope and really fast animals. And also the really powerful birds were lined up too, the eagles and the hawks. And amongst all these really fierce runners, this little magpie came that was listening in on that first meeting. And he was just a little magpie, and he didn't look very powerful. So all the other animals were making fun of him. Even the strong birds were teasing him. And they were saying things like, how could this little magpie who is always yapping away ever hope to expect to win such a mighty race as this one? He is so lazy. He does not even fly south for the winter. But that little magpie, he didn't care. It didn't bother him. He just wanted to be in the race. And so he stood on the race, and he's just a really small bird, and he was all at attention, and he was ready to go with his eyes looking ahead. And then the owl started the race, and all the animals started running. And so they ran and ran and ran. And as they were coming close to the starting area again, they would really run hard. And dirt would, kind of start piling up on the east side of the Black Hills. And the second time they were running around, they were running even harder. Some of them were starting to get tired, but every animal was a determined runner. They were all determined to win. The four-leggeds wanted so badly to destroy all the two-leggeds. They ran so hard they wanted to make sure they won. And the birds were thinking to themselves that we have to have wisdom on this earth. We have to have wisdom. We cannot let wisdom be destroyed from this earth. And so that would be their thoughts, and they wanted to win this race. And they came around close to the starting area the second time, and they would really run harder, so more dirt started piling up into a hill on the east side of the Black Hills that was not connected to the Black Hills. And they would start on their third time around. They were running harder and harder and harder. And pretty soon the animals' hooves and their paws and their feet were starting to break open because they were running so hard. And so there was blood on this racetrack. And they kept running and running, and then they were coming to the starting area again the third time, and they ran even harder. And again, a whole bunch of dirt started piling up even higher on this hill that they were making. And they started around their fourth time. Soon the animals began to die of exhaustion, and they just couldn't make it. They were running themselves to death. And still there was blood on this path. And they kept running, and some of them were dying, and they just kept going and going and going. And now they were coming to the north, and there were only two animals left. There was a buffalo, and there was that little magpie. Those were the only two runners left. Just imagine that. This little magpie and this huge buffalo, the final runners. All the other racers had died. And these two were really tired, but they were still trying to win this race. And so the magpie didn't think he was going to make it. And then he got an idea. He decided to fly up on the buffalo's hump where the buffalo couldn't see him. And so he did. He flew up on top of the buffalo's hump, and he just sat there and rested for a while. And the buffalo turned around, and he thought that the magpie must have died. And so he slowed down because he thought he was the only runner and he was going to win. As they got close to the finish line, the magpie flew off the buffalo's hump and flew over the finish line first, and he won the race. And so this was how wisdom was saved, by a little magpie. But the thing that I want to point out is how powerful the Wamakashka are. We are all Wamakashka. All of creation is Wamakashka. After this race was over, another meeting was held, and all the animals that were not in the race all gathered, and the four-leggeds said they would live up to the agreement. They said they would not destroy the two-leggeds. But the four-leggeds and things that move and grow, they wanted to add one more thing to this agreement. They said that the humans must be responsible now for all of creation. And the humans were to see that the animal nations do not overpopulate, that they do not underpopulate, that they should take care of the ground so that things will always grow, and also that the humans should take care of the water so that there will always be life. And so all the animals agreed to that one additional item. So just think, because of this race, us humans are still here. Now the bears are members of the two-leggeds along with us humans. And there's a really sacred reason for that. And that should not be spoken on a recording or spoken about in public. That's a ceremonial thing. And so I'm not going to mention that. So today, we humans have a responsibility to live in balance with all creation, with all Wamakashka. We are not over the plants and animals. We are not over the earth. Instead, we have a responsibility to them. We are the caretakers of this earth. We don't own the earth. And when we need food, we are only supposed to take what we need. We don't kill a whole bunch of animals and then stock them up in a freezer or things like that. We're only supposed to take what we need. And when we hunt, we're supposed to do it in a respectful way so that all of creation will be honored. This is why our ancestors had sacred songs they sang before they went hunting, and that they had ceremonies and songs sung after the hunt was over, so that the people may live, so that everything may live, so that nature will always be in balance. And we're not supposed to be doing things like killing an animal and taking some of the meat and cutting off the head and putting the head on the wall. Those animals are our relatives. That's like killing your grandpa and then putting his head on a wall. I don't think we would do that. Well, at least I would hope not. So we shouldn't be doing that to animals either. And today you see sports teams with all these mascots as animals, and some of them look really stupid and funny, and that's also showing disrespect to the animals too. So today we're messing up. Today we are neglecting that responsibility. And there's evidence of it all over. New viruses are coming. Some of them have already been here. As time goes on, if we continue to neglect our responsibility to all of creation, it's going to get worse. Today humans create all these insecticides to kill insects, and as a result the insects get stronger, so the insecticides can't kill them. And at the same time, when they bite us, it could make us really sick and even bring us death. In some areas, people are feeding cows to other cows, and all of a sudden you have a mad cow disease going around. Today the humans are really mixed up and have really neglected this responsibility. And someday these animals are going to remember the promise they made. And the promise was that if we neglect our responsibility to all of creation, then the animals will now come among the two-leggeds and destroy us all off the face of the earth. There are several reminders of our responsibility to all creation. One of them is that racetrack. Today, around the Black Hills, there is a red path that goes all around it. And this is the path the animals ran on. And towards the end of the race, they ran so hard that their hooves and their feet and their paws broke open and blood spilled all over the path. And so the red color of this path is from the blood of these animals that were running. And so when we see that path, we're supposed to remember those things. Another reminder is that hill that was built on the east side of the Black Hills. That area that's near the starting area, every time the animals ran near that area, they would run really hard. And so they were kicking up dirt, and it formed into this big giant hill. And our ancestors named that butte Mathopaha, to honor the representative of wisdom. Matho is bear. Baha is a mountain or a really, really big hill. And so that's why they call it Bear Butte today. These are reminders of our responsibility that we're supposed to be caretakers of this earth. And it also is supposed to remind us that if we neglect our duties as caretakers of the earth, the animals can destroy us. And the earth will be cleansed again, just like in the beginning of this story. And so, at first, our ancestors did take care of nature. For example, every 10 years, the entire northern plains was burned by the humans, because when they did this, this nourished the ground and always allowed plants to grow, and so that animals could eat. And since this allowed animals to live, it also allowed the people to live. Now today you see all these fires, and now the people are going to put out the fires just because some rich people live in the mountains. So it's crazy when you look at the situation today, when you think about this story that I just told you. When you see these pictures of the earth and you see there's something wrong, it's obvious that something is wrong. Grandmother Earth is speaking now. We should acknowledge that by taking some time and going out into nature and talking to the earth. We have a sacred song. It's a direction song. And when you face the direction of the earth, the lyrics are, look towards the earth. Pray to her, pray to her. Your grandmother is lying there. She wants to hear you. So that's telling you to talk to her. Your grandmother wants you to listen to you. She wants you to talk to her. She wants you to make contact with her. And I think we should do that every day, or as much as we can. We don't have to do it just once a day. So that we do say something about that. We are not helpless. Our grandmother Earth is our ally. She gives us everything that we could ever need. So it's okay to go out there and just talk to the Earth and tell her thank you for everything. It's your grandmother. Visualize this grandmother that she never, never, never turns her back on you. So it's only fair that we turn to her and say thank you and honor her by living in a healthy way. I think those who work with children, you already know this because you're imparting knowledge and wisdom in the earth. This is what mothers do. The grandmother Earth is behind you on that. Tell her anything and cry. If you need to cry, sit on the earth and cry. You have a very strong connection to the grandmother Earth when you sit as close as you can to the earth. As if you're in a sky-rise building, just get on the floor. Just get as close as you can. And then you express everything. Your fears, your worries, your concerns. And just tell her, I don't know what to do. Help me find the direction to go. I feel let down. I was living very healthy as best as I can, and now this came at me, and I feel punished. Whatever you're feeling, you tell her whatever it is that you're feeling, because she wants to hear that. When you're doing that, you're releasing. As you're releasing, the earth is putting energy inside of you to begin the healing process. And when we do this, we're making a connection. And even if you're not going through a hard time, let's say everything is good in your life, then go there and still tell her these things and say, I'm really happy. I'm in love, I got a new girlfriend, and I'm very thankful, and I thank you for everything. I thank you for all that you provide to us and everything like that. She wants to hear that too. And that's going to make her feel good. So when we have this communication like this, then we're mindful of each other more so than we were before. And that's what it's about. So, listening to nature, sometimes the answer is there. And it's not a word, it's not a sentence, it's not a message, it's just the music of nature. As you listen, there's energy in the music of nature, and it goes inside you, and you're receiving healing. And I don't mean flutes and panpipes and African drums. I don't mean that. I mean actual nature. Wind blowing through the leaves, blowing through trees, and birds singing, things like that. Crickets chirping away, and all that kind of wonderful thing. That's what I mean. Oh, and water flowing is another medicine I really like to hear too. It really makes you more aware of nature, and just doing your part is going to really help, because you're not alone. That's why. Yeah, you're not alone. There's a whole bunch of us that are doing the same thing. So this is something that can be done. It's just as powerful as, in fact, it's probably more powerful than what the oil companies are doing. Because what we're sending out is healthy. That's one of the reasons why. So just really talking to Grandmother Earth. And if you want to call her Mother Earth, that's fine. Either way is fine. There is no rule on this. In Lakota songs, we say Grandmother Earth because she's an old lady now. We've been here a long time. You can regard her as Mother Earth too because she is still providing for us. So either name is good. Don't get into a war and say, well, gee, you guys say Grandmother Earth and we say Mother Earth, and we think you're wrong, so we're going to go to war on you. That's just what's happening on all these religions. That's stupid things like that. What's happening in the world is scary, but you always remember the media is not always reporting everything. So don't let it scare you. Yeah, just go, dang, or whatever your word is. Mine is shut the fridge door. I like that kind of cussing. Anyway, just like I said, just think of the earth. Because some of us can't go outside. We have disability and we aren't able to go outside. So what you can do is visualize. So much power in visualization. You can receive healing power from visualization too, by visualizing the future, what you would like for it to be. That does help. It is power. So you can use that same process by visualizing the earth in front of you and you talk to her. You can do that too, because you don't always have to be outside. You can visualize and use your memories. This is one of the reasons why we have brains, not just to communicate, but to do these kind of things, to visualize from your childhood when you could run and being outside. You just take that image and then hone in on the earth itself and start talking to it. That's so powerful to do. So you don't have to be in the park or up in the mountains or in a forest to necessarily do this. You can visualize too. Sometimes I do this when I'm riding the train, getting from one part of the city to the next. I do a little visualize while I'm sitting there waiting for the next stop. Then I get done, get off, and continue. Continue on my way. So you just establish that contact, and then you can take it from there. This helps you to deal with dualistic tendencies too. If you're having difficulty with that, this also helps with that. Because like I said, when you think of the earth like this, what you're doing is you're actually putting a medicine inside of yourself. It's going to help you to receive inspiration to get answers to problems or things that you're concerned about, solutions and stuff like that. You'll be able to come up with things. That's a part of the process to do that. So man's dualistic activities are also influencing the weather. So when you yourself become more of a healthy thinker, then you have more compassion for those who are going through difficult time, and you send thoughts and prayers to them. That's a really big help. Really. Because reality begins within. The universe was created like that. So that's why when you see a country being hit with war and stuff, and you just think of the children and send thoughts to them. It's energies, healing. Do this in your mind. It's going to affect them in a nice way. We have that power to do so. And you have the power to do it in your own life. Reality begins within. It's a universal concept. This is how all universes were created. And with the same process, you can really
deal with difficulties in your life. This is part of using your mind in dealing with difficult times. Expressing the emotion, then bringing your mind in. This is part of that, and part of that is visualizing where you would like this to be and acting like you're there, and then come back to the present moment, and then you can see what needs to be done. See what I mean? You visualize the future the way you would like it to be for a few minutes, and you enjoy it. And when you come back to the present moment, now you have a bigger insight into seeing what the problem is and how to solve it. You're getting that inspiration from the future when you visualize. When doing that process is healing. And this is what we can do for the earth too. And when we do this for the earth, we're really establishing a connection to her and to ourselves, our sacred centers. So we have that bond. And that is so important. It don't matter where you are. All of the earth is our grandmother. The whole earth is sacred.
To read more about Lakota Star Knowledge spirituality, you can read my book called Wichocha Otechike. You can see the book cover on the right side of this screen. This book contains the information to what I talk about on my Lakota spirituality videos. To purchase this book, please click below where it says Show More. Clicking on that link will open up the description below, and there you will see a link called To Purchase My Books. As you will see, it's an eBay link. Click on that eBay link, and there you will see the information to get this book. Lila Pila Mayelo. Thank you very much.